Sure, that'll work. All right, so there's my choke wire. Hey y'all, Bob with Million Mile Garage. We're gonna get this wrapped up today, literally. I did have to go in and remark this wire yellow again. Probably didn't do the best job because I wanted to leave it attached to the harness. Turns out that the which one of these was the crappy one? Actually, they're both still kind of crappy. I use this painter's pin, which I notice it doesn't say oil based on it, but it does call it a paint marker. This one says oil based Craft Smart. I got this at Michael's yesterday, but what I was really looking for was a Sharpie in that same flavor of yellow. And I've taken this Sharpie and I've gone over and marked that blue wire so it's got a white stripe on it like it should. And it dried nice and it doesn't peel off. And it's not sticky. Which, you know, a lot of times oil based means enamel, and enamel tends to not cure on top of vinyl. So I went and used this Craft Smart. I restriped this black one, and it's actually still a little tacky, and I did this last night. Usually a bad sign. Usually that means it's never going to fully cure. It's going to be a little mushy, but at least it won't rub off like the other one did. The other one, you could just rub it off just by touching it. It was garbage. It actually washed off with mineral spirits. A Sharpie, when it dries, I don't think mineral spirits will remove it. You'll have to use lacquer thinner. So I'm just going to let this go. I'm done fooling with it. I'm only going to see just a little bit of this yellow once I get the harness trimmed. And when I've gone and done, after I got everything mocked up the way I wanted, I took that white Sharpie and marked on the wires where they're going to peep out on the harness as I wrap it. You know, so these are the that's the pressure sender wire, and then we got this brown one's the coil wire, and of course this other one will be the yellow wire. I pulled it out of my little makeshift harness here so I could restripe it, and it's just going to line up with the marks on these other ones. This blue mark right here, I believe that's the mark for the what is that for? Nope, I didn't mean to get that on there. On the blue mark here will be for the choke wire. And then of course I'm going to bring this all the way down and probably wrap this main power feed off the alternator probably down to about here. And I'll do the same thing with the field wires, the blue ones, and then I got the green one here. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap the harness up first, because you know the length of these wires is going to shift around a little bit as I tuck all this stuff in and wrap it. And then once I get the harness rerouted and laying, you know, back on the rocker cover on the firewall, then I'm going to go in and, you know, cut the ends of the wires to a good length and terminate the ends and connect everything up. So I think I'm pretty close to getting this all wrapped up. The only thing I was a little on the fence on, I did go in and rewrap some of this AC harness. It looks like from the factory, or at least when I redid this, right, when I probably had to pull this stuff apart on the slant 6 years ago, the harness is wrapped up separate, and I know I didn't do that. For the AC / blower motor harness, I guess that's the wire that, you know, goes and feeds the eventually feeds the AC clutch, right? It goes into, it branches off, and you know, you've got these two wires here going into the low pressure switch, and then it, you know, doubles back around and attaches into here for the compressor. This wire is in okayish shape. That's where I spliced it from where it went in the harness. I guess what something's kind of weird about this is I guess this was always wrapped separate from the main harness. You know, I'm going to wrap all of this stuff up today, but I'm not going to put this in with it. I'm going to leave it separate. But I probably am going to go ahead and wrap on it where it's going to go over the rocker cover. I'm going to go ahead and probably, even though I'm going to lay this on top of the other harness, I'm going to wrap this up as well just to protect it, so I don't have any, you know, shorting out problems either. This is an original wire. It seems a little brittle but not cracked, but I guess if it's wrapped in tape it doesn't make a whole lot of difference. So we'll get this squared away today. I feel pretty good about this now. You know, all the wires are healthy. You know, we did the continuity test, I guess you call it, you know, with the voltmeter beeping. So I know all of the wires are connected like they're supposed to be. So I guess the only thing to do is get this wrapped up and get it hooked up and see if it's going to run and charge. Okay, that turned out pretty good. I just joined my temp sender wire with my black extender wire, and all I did was just I kind of butt welded them. I just, these wires are so heavy, even this soldering gun has a hard time getting the joints hot enough, so I just, I tinned both of the leads first, and then just stuck them together, set them together, and then just set the iron on it, and just added a little solder. They just stuck right together. Well, not aesthetically pleasing. It's definitely a good connection, and that'll be good enough for now. And I did save the proper color of the wire. And then I shrink sleeve this as well. You can see I did have a blob of solder that hung down a little bit, but that's no big deal. It's a good joint, and is properly insulated. So that'll be fine when I wrap this whole harness up in tape. Okay, there's where I got the beginning of the branch started. I'm going to say that looks pretty close to the way it looked before I unwrapped it. So that looks pretty nice. That's where I started right there. Got that junction all wired off like it's supposed to be. And again, I'm going to leave the windshield wiper harness separate because that's the way it was. And I'm going to leave the AC harness separate. And now I'm going to have to branch over here and start wrapping all of this. I think now that I got this tie wrap pretty good, I think I feel pretty confident. I want to make sure I don't mess up where I got this main power feed. I got this tie wrap so it doesn't move around too much. So I want to make sure I don't lose the length over here. When I wrap this up, this has got to come out and be able to reach here. So that's looking pretty good. I think I'm pretty close to just pulling the harness back out, and then I can run the tape all the way around, and I think I pretty well got it. Cool? Cool. All right, we're coming up on the spot here where I know I've got my wires marked. I can't see all the other dots, but I know they're all in about the same spot. I'm going to bring the coil pickup wires, oil pressure sender, and the 2 coil wires. I'm going to bring them all out in that same spot. I'll bring it up and stop there, and then I'll pick up on the other side. So I've got those wires coming out where I want them. Okay, just checking the progress. There's the bundle of wires for the coil and the pickup leads and the oil pressure sender. So those are kind of poking out where I want them to. And then there's my choke wire. And then I got a little bit left to go. And I think I got this. Yep, I think she's coming around. Okay, let's see how it lays in. We'll follow it all around. I still have the AC harness hanging out because I'm going to retape that part, do a little work on that. But looking down in here, you can see my there's my pickup coil wire right there. That's got plenty of length. That'll come around and hook up on the other side. That's fine. There's my coil wires. They need to be shortened and terminated, right? They need to have connectors on them. But it looks like where I decided to have them all part ways inside the harness. That's working out well. There's my choke coil wire, which would have been nice probably to have it break off maybe a little farther back or a little farther up, but it can just snake back. And it's going to hook up right there. Plenty of wire there to play with. And then just looking down here, I wrapped this down pretty good. And I kind of bent the wire around to get it to fit. And I'm probably going to leave these a little long. I may come in and put different ends on. I probably could also open the tape up a little bit more and let those come out a little farther here, but at least they're protected. I'll go ahead and put ends on those as well this afternoon, hook those up. So yeah, I probably got another 40 minutes of screwing around. Yeah, probably more like an hour. If I'm going to fix the blower motor wire too, I guess I'll do that. Maybe I'll just find the connector cover on the floor and put it back on like I did last year. But yeah, looks like I pretty well got it. I'm not patting myself on the back yet. This thing still has to start and run and not catch on fire again. So I think I pretty well got it. And just coming in here, I just picked up on the factory tape right there, brought it over, made that new junction. Still got to hook up my main connector here, right? That's where the fusible link is. That should go right back on, no problem. Yep, that's pretty much how that was before. So I got my windshield wiper harness. That's right here. That's just gonna probably go down and do that. I think that's what it did before. I can't remember if I had it snaked into this or not. I probably did. But anyway, that'll go back like it was before, not a problem. So all this looks pretty good down here. You can run on down to putting the white stripe back on the replacement wire coming out of that junction block. that red wire could have been an inch or two longer. I would have liked to have that harness, you know, just kind of snake back here a little bit more. As you can see, I didn't use the factory harness support right there because I don't have that junction block there on there anymore. And I figure on a Chrysler car, the shorter the wires, the better. The less resistance you have to get stuff done, the better, especially when it comes to the ignition stuff. So I think I'm pretty happy with that. I think it looks V8-ish. I don't know if you agree or not. I'm not sure what you think of using the 3M, or not 3M, Scotch. Was it Scotch 30 Super 33? What they call that? Super 33. And just looking at the specs, if I didn't lose them, what do I do with my little paper card? All right, so there's the story on the Super 33. It says it's automotive vinyl electrical tape, and it says it has a working range of 0 degrees Fahrenheit to 221 degrees Fahrenheit. And if you're watching this in Europe, it's minus 18 degrees Celsius to 105 degrees Celsius. So that's interesting. I don't know how hot the firewall gets. I know even the crappy Harbor Freight electrical tape will hang on for a while, but man, that stuff is a sticky, gooey mess. This roll of tape, I think, at O'Reilly's was very expensive. I think I might have paid $11 for it. And that's what you can buy like 20 rolls of tape for at Harbor Freight. But if they won't get the job done, it doesn't matter if they're free. So the one thing I did notice was a little weird is when you flip this over, it does mention 600 volts max. That's fine. And this is not more than 80 degrees Celsius, which is 176, which is what the Harbor Freight turd tape is rated at. So not really sure why there's two different sets of, or maybe they're just talking flame retardants. I don't know. Yeah, maybe that's it. But anyway, professional grade. And I read up on this a little bit, and I think this stuff was invented in the 40s. I'm sure it's not the same adhesive they use now. But from what I've read, it tends to last, it tends to work. I would rather have tried the no-stick tape, but I did notice, looking at this old harness on the air conditioner, as you can see, they did not use cloth tape on these. That's vinyl, really old vinyl too, but look at that, still pliable, it's 50 years old. Of course, you know, this is, you know, not directly on the engine. But coming over here on the end, they used a little bit of that cloth harness tape to seal the ends, you know, because they're not adhesive. So you have to do something to seal the ends. You can either have to tie them off or tape them, and that probably was done at the factory. I don't remember doing anything to this harness, and I'm sure my dad didn't fool with it. So that's kind of weird. And I did just go in here, and this is what I just redid with the 33, because this stuff had peeled off, and I had spliced in a idle solenoid wire for the air conditioner, working off of that, and had retaped it because I just went in and just, you know, spliced into one of these wires, and I used that Harbor Freight tape, and it didn't last 6 months. It started unraveling and sticky gooey mess, but clings off with mineral spirit. So just like with this stuff, if it doesn't work out, that's fine, but I'm guessing it will. But it's just right on the rocker cover. I'm almost thinking to get one of those you know, those I guess what do they call them, loom covers, or you know, those corrugated plastic ones. I was almost thinking about taking one and running it like right here all the way down the length of the rocker cover and have it come out to like right there, just to basically keep the heat off of the tape and the wires even more, kind of more of an insulator. And you know, since it's not totally stock anyway, I don't think that really bothers me. I just want it to be reliable. I don't want it to stop running between here and Decatur on my donut run. Priorities, right? So anyway, let me terminate the ends on it, and then we'll see if she spins over and charges. All right, I left the wires long enough, so I want to go back and put factory connectors on. I can do that later, but I just wanted to get this thing running. I got this all run around nice. This looks good. Everything's connected on the coil. You can see the yellowish stripe on the coil wire. That's nice. I actually did use a little end piece, I think, left over from the coil wire that might have yellow on it, maybe not. There's my new ground for the choke. There's my new wire coming out of there. That looks fine. I actually was able to get the plastic cover to stay on here, and I also kind of waterproofed it a little bit because the AC leaks on it. So that'll be fine for now. That's for the blower motor. And then here's the harness for the AC. I went ahead and finished wrapping that up. So I think it's going to be exposed to the blue wires. I may even wrap a little blue tape on the blue wire up a little bit on this older wire where it's going to meet the clutch wire. I think I'm going to I may put a new terminal in on that, or I may just tape it. I'm not sure for now. Sure would be nice if I had a cover to go over that. Yeah, I guess I really should put new terminal ends on that. But other than that, I just have to wrap this around, the same path. One thing I wished I'd have done different, if I'd have thought of it while I was doing it, I'd have taken that green coil wire that I added several years ago when I put a column mounted tack on, and I just ran it through an unused terminal spot there. I would have wrapped up and taped as well. I think I may just tie wrap it so it kind of looks like a day 2 mod, and I may put a little tape or something there where it's near metal. The wire's in good shape though. There's the tack wire right there. So that looks pretty good. Pretty happy with this. Didn't cost a lot of money. I had most of the materials on hand, but again, I did to buy some connectors, and I bought some harness tape, not counting the cost of the soldering gun. I probably still ended up spending probably $30, maybe $40. It's amazing how fast you can spend $40 now on almost anything. So. Okay, since I cleaned these connectors last year when I was troubleshooting all the electrical, I know that these connections for the AC compressor clutch do not get hot, and that is an original brass terminal. Unfortunately, the one going into it is, that aftermarket, plated aluminum crap or whatever it is, kind of like what I used on all this stuff here too, unfortunately. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and, I guess originally, way back when, I just had this sliding through a piece of rubber tube, and that was kind of like my harness protector. So I'm going to just, since there's no reason for me to disconnect this unless I'm replacing the compressor or the clutch, I'm just going to put a shrink sleeve over this like that, and heat it up and shrink it, and I'll just leave that kind of semi-permanent for now. I'm pretty much ready to lay this harness in. I got her taped up, so let me get that done, and then I think we're ready to see if she's going to spin over. I did go ahead and put a new connector on the end of my idle solenoid wire. I use the kind that you crimp and then shrink the tube on the end. The reason I like these is they tend not to let the wire break from flexing. It supports the wire really well. The one thing and this is what it looks like before you crimp it and then shrink it. These ones here that I had intended on using on the AC compressor connect up. You can't shrink the end of this, and then you just basically have bare wire hanging off in there, and after you flex them around several times they tend to break off. I prefer to have the connector supported by the vinyl on the wire as well, and this is shrink wrapped. It's sealed, it's tight where you've crimped it, and those tend to last. Again, not a huge fan of these silver connectors. They used to be like tin plated brass, but I think these might be aluminum. So not my first choice, but when you're in O'Reilly's and you just want to get your car back together, you have limited options. Just showing you here. Here's my connector on the, and of course it looks burned because I thought I could melt. I thought I could shrink wrap the end of it. You can't. But you can see here's my shrink wrapped connector here for the negative. And then the positive one, you can see I've just got bare wire up inside there, and it tends to flex back and forth. Maybe the fix for that is to not trim the wire back as far, but those tend to break off after a while. Not my first choice for a connector. Same thing on this one I did here. The wire tends to get flexed back and forth, and you can actually see the plastic sleeve on this one cracked when I crimped it. Because that's, I think I've had these this connector collection since like 1995. I think these are Cal terms. They used to be a real popular Discount Auto brand, if y'all remember Discount Auto before it became Advance Auto, whoever they merged with. And there's the 1995 copyright, which usually they renew those, I guess, probably almost every year or two. So I bought these way back when I first started having electrical problems with the Duster. And you can see I've used quite a few of them over the years, but I guess the sleeves on them have cracked, which is not a huge deal, especially if you're just using it for a ground. I'm not too worried about that, but and this isn't a real critical thing here. If the choke stops working, that's not going to leave me on foot. But yeah, these later style connectors, you know, with the caveat that I'm not sure what the metal's made out of. It seems a little soft, but they do tend to last. Maybe not as long as the brass ones, but yeah, as far as just a you know, just a good backyard hookup, you could do a lot worse. Okay, here she is. She's ready to go. I just need to put the negative terminal on there. Just kind of going around here from the grill to the firewall. All that I think probably mimics factory routing. Looks V8-ish, stockish, I don't know. I decided not to shrink the tubing. It kind of stays in place for the AC compressor. That'll be fine for now. Got my idle solenoid hooked up. Got all my wires tucked down on top of the rocker cover. Nowhere near that ball of wire it had before. That's nice. And got rid of this very unnecessary junction connector right here. So it just routes around cleanly. And then all the wires branch out right there and go off to the oil pressure sender, and then the two wires for the coil, and then of course the pickup wires. You can see those running down up to the distributor as well. Looks really clean. I think this kind of looks stockish. I'm not sure I got everything laying back exactly the way it was where I disturbed it, but I think to the casual observer that looks just fine. You can see where the new tape starts, like right in there-ish. Okay. Sure. I do have a fire extinguisher standing by just in case. So, all right, let's do it. That'll be good enough just for fooling around with it. That way I can pull it off in a hurry if I have to. I'm going to roll the key over just to see what happens. Okay, discharge, that's good. Let's check for smoke. Please no smoke. And of course, right, your fingers are your best tester, right? Okay, the heated coil wires are not getting hot. That's nice. Okay, that's fine. All this stuff looks good. I don't see smoke anywhere. Well, dare I try? Oh yeah. All right, let's pat the pedal. Is she gonna go? It'd be nice if I could see the tack, wouldn't it? There we go. All right. It's charging. Of course, I got a lifter clack again. That's nice. Oh, wait a minute. Tack's not working. Okay, we got one thing that's not working. Working before I worked on it. Well, got one thing to troubleshoot. Again, no smoke. That's good. All right, got my tack wire right here. I thought I was supposed to hook it up to the positive side. Did I screw that up? I'll have to go back and check on that. Nothing like having the spring washer jump off of your coil stud and drop right into the carburetor. Nice, huh? If I can get it out. Of course, anywhere I want to go. So I can show myself what I'm doing with my camera here, because I can't see down in the throat. Of course, it's going to block as soon as I go down in here. I think the screwdriver tip is magnetized. Yep. There we go. Bastard. All right, let's try that again. Okay, let's try it again. All right. We got the green wire for the tack hanging off the negative post this time. Let's see how that works out. Oops. Ugh. There we go. Okay, cool. I'm going to shut her down because I'm getting gassed out in here. All right, I feel pretty good about that. I guess we need to get her out of the garage. And unfortunately, moving it around in the driveway a lot like I have the last several times, for some reason, I've still got one lifter that wants to bleed down. And I went in and replaced a bad lifter, I guess it was a year ago, last December? I guess it's going on 2 years ago. And it was much improved, but I guess maybe I have more than one lifter that's got a problem. Frustrating. But it only has to run for 3 or 4 minutes, and it usually pumps up and it's fine, so I'm not going to worry about it. But what is nice is it looks like I've got a car restored back to running condition again. I am kind of done with it though. I think I'm going to take it out and drive it, and if everything on it's working, I think I'm going to wipe her down, give her a good coat of wax. I would say I'd leave her sit in this stall, but unfortunately the Mustang, which we just worked on, which was doing great, for some reason it had a crossover on the intake on the firewall side. Of course, it's leaking antifreeze, so we're going to have to pull the upper and lower intake on the Mustang. I think we're going to put it in the garage here because it's still kind of hot, because it's semi-climate controlled in here. Right, we got vents that are mostly blocked off, but keeping the upstairs cooled off, just the trickle down effect usually keeps it good 10-12 degrees below ambient. So if it's 95 outside, it's probably 85 in here. The air is probably 40-50% humidity, so not too bad. But anyway, we will take it out and drive it. I'm gonna have to move this out anyway to get the Mustang back in the slot again to work on that. I gotta tell you, keeping these old cars working is getting old. I'm getting old. But anyway, I'm happy I got this thing back together, and I think it looks stockish. I don't know what you guys think. This is the only Mopar I've ever owned. Again, probably my most favorite car I've ever owned, but I haven't owned a lot of them. So just looking at it, to me, I would think to the casual observer, there's not a whole lot there to strike a conversation. It just looks like a wiring harness. Definitely looks better than the mess that I had before. So that stuff's all looped in there, really nice and neat and tidy. I'm tickled with it. I don't know. Let me know what you think. I think I did an okayish job. But hey, next frame, we'll have this thing out and we'll take her for a spin. Alright, we're just tooling along about 40 miles an hour. Looks like she's charging good, tach's working, everything looks like it's working. So that's nice. We're going to stop and get some gas because it's a little low. I think the engine tick's already gone. I think it went away in like 90 seconds. That's pretty cool. For some reason, if you start it up and shut it down 2 or 3 times before letting it get up to temperature, it gets that tick. It's probably just because the lifters are slow to pump up. Or one lifter slow to pump up. Alright, we're just going to pull in the tabs here and get some fuel. Ooh, there's a sharp looking Lincoln right there, isn't it? Nice. We'll just pull in right here. Put a little petrol in it. She's running good. All right, she's running good. We're just going to give it just a little pedal. We're just going to go through the gears a little bit. case y'all are wondering, gosh, did he waste a lot of his money and time on a harness he probably could have replaced for $130 or $150, I guess. It says with OE electronic ignition. It only goes up to 72. I don't know why they do that. And they list 72 to 74 big block for an A body. I don't think there were any 72 to 74 big blocks in A bodies. That's kind of weird, don't you think? But nonetheless, it's 150 bucks, and I'm not sure, you know, what is missing on a 72 harness, because again, I'm not a Mopar guru, but I would think I'd like to have it list for my make and model before I shell out 150 bucks for a harness. So, and it was just the engine harness. So you wonder, what did I spend? Well, what I spent, because I already had this wire, and this wire. And I was lucky enough to have the gauges that look like the factory gauges, so both 16, and I did go 14 on the coil wire, which I don't think I only needed 16, but that's fine. It's okay to go up size, not down, especially on Mopar stuff, right? But what I did have to buy was a roll of brown ignition coil wire, and I probably, if I was really frugal, I probably could have recycled what I had and just used a black extender in the harness like I did on the temperature sender. What I did have to buy were some spade terminals, both male and female. And again, I bought those shrink to fit kind. Dorman, I know some of you probably cringe when you see that. I think they're okayish. You know, I'm sure you could do worse. I like the shrink connector part on the end after you crimp it. Again, not sure what they're made out of. I don't know if those actually are just plated brass. It's what they used to be. They feel like aluminum to me. I don't know. I didn't need to buy these. I think these are garbage. And, you know, these are male and female connectors. I was going to use those on the AC compressor, but wasn't real impressed with those after I used one of them on the choke. I already had these, but I'm going to say, like, and these are the ones I use for the coil. I'm going to say replacement cost. I'm going to go with, you know, what it would cost if you didn't have, for what, I'll go with what I had to purchase, which obviously had an influence on what I, you know, whether I wanted to spend 150 or more on an engine harness. I don't even know if how dated this book is either. It's a what the Classic Industries Mopar, whatever. It looks like from last December maybe. So going on a year ago, and we know with supply chain stuff has gone up tremendously. In fact, I think when I looked it up online, it definitely was more than the 150 listed in here. Going off of memory, I'm just going to call that 180. So what I had to spend, I'm just going to say 10 bucks each on everything because I don't entirely remember. So we'll go 10, 20, 30 is what I had to spend, and then I spent another 11 on electrical tape. And with tax and everything, and probably with a couple of little things I probably left out, let's call it 50 bucks. I did buy a soldering gun, which I had a soldering iron that would work. Most people, you know, especially if you own a Mopar, you probably already have a soldering gun. So we'll just go with 10, 20, 30, 40 something tax. We'll just call it 50 bucks is what I spent. So that's less than 1/3, right? It's probably 180ish for a new harness. Now, if you wanted to have all the wires like I did, the right colors, you know, again, I took the black and made it into a yellow stripe one. Oh, that was the extra $5 I threw, and actually 10, considering I bought 2 yellow ones that didn't really work that great. But it probably would have been $6 if I could find the yellow Sharpie in the color I wanted. Yeah, so that puts us up right around 50 bucks with tax and everything, maybe a little over. So I didn't need these wires. This is really all I needed was this. So that's what I had to buy to finish the job, plus the tape. And I used the Super 33, which I think is probably good stuff. Some people might call it turd tape. I don't know. Don't care, really. I may end up putting a wiring loom around that anyway. But anyway, just kind of sharing with you what I did here. I didn't spend a lot of resources, but I did spend a lot of time doing this. So again, you know, time is money too, right? Obviously, if you're doing this for a living, you're not going to go through the trouble with this on a customer's car. You're gonna go put in a replacement harness and then, you know, charge them the $500 labor to install it too, right? Anyway, this is just an old guy keeping his old car running, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Hit like and subscribe. I don't do every video I do is not a Duster video. I know a lot of you guys are probably Mopar no car, but I do have a pair of 70s Camaros, his and hers, that I'm working on, trying to resurrect the one in the front there, my gold one. I've owned that one since I was 19 years old. It got creamed about, I guess it's going on 15 years ago now. I used to say 10. It's funny how time gets away from you. But that one's almost ready for paint. It's got new interior. I had a lot done to it. This one was a show winner. And if you've watched my Camaro videos, go in there. I've got a playlist and all this stuff. You can go into, I have them all listed, you know, all things Camaro, all things 5.0, I think all things GT, all things Duster. I might have a GTO one in there. I definitely have a car cover video too. I think the GTO's in that. So yeah, once again, thanks for watching. Hit like and subscribe. I hope to see y'all next time. Take care.